Welcome to Storytime with Kristen. I'm just gonna get cozy because I'm gonna sit here and tell stories. Why am I gonna sit here and tell stories? Well, some of you think that my life and some of the stories about my life are weird, interesting, mostly weird, and probably because they are a little weird compared to the status quo. But I was raised very differently, and so I thought, maybe if my life is interesting and weird, it's an obligation of mine to share the stories, and then everyone will feel better about their life or just say, whoa. So that's why I'm here. I'm here to tell stories about my life. And today's stories are prompted by a fun little memory that came up for me today when I was coaching boot camp. So when I'm coaching boot camp on the beach, I run Miami Beach Boot Camp, in case you didn't know. And so this morning was body weight and bands. And so there was a lot of movements where we were time under tension. And to distract from the fact that, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, my butt is on fire, or oh my gosh, my core is on fire, I tried to get people to think about the muscle that they're trying to work in a new way. So it's distraction and also a way to get engagement. So mind-muscle connection. So I say things like, when we're in plank, make a fist with your belly button. So obviously you cannot make a fist out of your belly button, but if you think about gripping with your belly button, that engages your core muscles. And so we think about like putting our mind in the part of our body that's being worked. So like right here, I want people to think about right here. So that's where I am always trying to think of different ways to get people to think about the movement so that they will engage. And also, to think, I don't hate this as much. So this morning, we were doing a movement where we were pulling our hips up to the sky. And so I said before, like, think of somebody with a string pulling you from the sky. That's what you want to focus the movement on. And then we were doing glute bridges. And so I wanted people to tap their butt down and pop their hips back up when they were sitting on their butts. And so I was thinking, I said, make it like a rubber band, like someone's pulling you up with a rubber band and then releasing it for a quick little tap. And the word rubber band brought back this memory, very, very insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but I hadn't thought about it in so long. So when we were kids, we were homeschooled. We didn't get out a whole lot. We didn't go anywhere very often. And when my brother was 12, he got a paper route. I think it was called the Peach, was the newspaper. And so all these newspapers would get delivered on, I think it was like Saturday night or Friday night or something. It was stacks. When I was a kid, it was like mountains of them. And he would have to roll them up and put a rubber band on them. So we'd have to roll the papers, put a rubber band on them, and then take them and deliver them. And so we always had this newspaper rolling party where we all helped. And I remember like getting the newspaper print was like, your hands would be black. And then you actually accidentally touch your face and it'd be black. And then pretty soon my sister, my brother, and I would be touching each other to like get the black on each other. And my mom would get super mad. But we would get these giant bags of these red rubber bands. They were little, just enough to get around the paper. And so we'd be doing these like rolling paper parties. And invariably one of us would shoot a rubber band at the other. And eventually it was an all-out war. It was a war. It was rubber bands flying everywhere. My mom shrieking. She got so upset because they would go everywhere. They'd go behind the couch. They'd go in the corner. And it's not like we're, as kids, going to be conscientious and go pick them all up. No, they were there until they were found at spring cleaning. And so we would do that. And we would have so much fun rubber band fighting. Because literally we had no entertainment in our house. It was nothing. And so we had to create our own entertainment. So that was the story. That was it. It's exciting, right? No, but it prompted more thoughts and memories of stuff when I was a kid. So I have an older brother, Alan, the paper route boy. By the way, I was at my parents' recently looking at photo albums, and she had cut out a newspaper article for my brother that he was the carrier of the week. 12-year-old Alan was the carrier of the week. We found that newspaper out. Probably because they were rolled up so well. Because my sister and I totally helped. But anyway, he is 7 years older than me, so he's currently, I can't do math. He's, he's gonna be 51. And I have an older sister. She's 2 years older than me. I don't know, I can't do math anymore. But anyway, I have an older brother and an older sister. And so we were, we were home together a lot. So we started homeschooling when my brother, his senior year. So most of my homeschool years, he was already graduated. He just did the 1 year, the 1987 to 1988 school year. So, but we were all home all the time together because we went to church and that was it. We didn't do entertainment. We weren't in school. We weren't playing on sports teams and things like that. And so we were home alone sometimes on Monday nights. My mom went to this weight loss support group called TOPS, Taking Off Pounds Sensibly. And my brother had a different name for that, which is not very kind, but it was a different, he found different words for that acronym. Or I'm just gonna say it. Tubby, oversized, pathetic slobs. That's not me. I didn't come up with that. He did. And I was 400 pounds, so I'm allowed to say that. Okay? Because I was a fat person. Anyway, don't get mad at me. But anyway, my mom went to Tops on Monday nights, and my dad was supposed to watch us. Well, my dad didn't pay attention to us at all. It was a free-for-all. The minute my mom's car was out, it was like we didn't really like reading books. Like, bye, Mom. And then it was like, because my mom didn't ever go anywhere. She got one night a week to get out and be away from us hellions. And so we took advantage of that. We had so much fun. Like the stupid things. My mom ran a really tight ship and she was always there. And so we couldn't get away with anything. And she had eyes in the back of her head. But she'd go and it was stupid things. Like I remember I made the tiniest little batch of popcorn and I put a whole stick of butter on it. Because no one was there to say like the reasonable thing. And I was like, this is awesome. And then like my dad would keep Coke. Just a few bottles of Coke, and we used to always have to ask permission. Well, if Mom wasn't there, we just drink them all, just chug them down. And then it was like, what else can we do while this woman is gone? There's so many things with food. Like my mom would make chips and cheese. Like we didn't have a microwave, so she'd take a baking sheet, she'd spread chips on it, which she always got the 99-cent like La Canasta brand tortilla chips that were sort of like a Dorito knockoff. They didn't taste like Doritos. They were just tortilla chips with a dusting of orange powder to make you think they were cheesy. I'll never forget. It's because they were 99 cents a bag. She put them on a baking sheet, and then we used to get government cheese. So we didn't have a lot of money, so my mom would wait in line and get the free government food. So it was powdered eggs, powdered milk, and just blocks of cheese. And so she would grate it really thinly, like with a knife on top, and then put it in the oven, which microwaves are great, but when you bake nachos, something different happens and you cannot touch how good they are. So just like the popcorn thing, I took like 5 chips and I just like put like tons of cheese on there and baked it and like just that kind of stuff. The stuff that, we couldn't get away with. And for me with food, it was always a food thing. And then would go to the grocery store and buy all kinds of junk food and eat it as fast as we could. And then there was one time where for some reason my brother got my sister to climb up onto the roof of the garage and then he took the ladder away. So my mom came home, it's dark, and my sister was stuck on the roof. We got in really big trouble for that. And then there was another time, the only chore that I had while she was gone was to mow the lawn. Well, I was so busy getting into trouble and doing all this stuff, I forgot. Well, then it got to be dark and she was going to be home soon. So I'm out there at like 9 o'clock at night mowing the lawn, pissing the neighbors off. That was funny. But our number one favorite thing to do, we played WWF wrestling. So my brother would... usually it was my brother and me. He would be doing wrestling moves with me. Like he would watch, my dad was a janitor and he cleaned the TV studios of Channel 9 where they did live wrestling. And so my brother would go with my dad to clean and they would watch these wrestling matches. So we didn't have TV, but my brother understood what wrestling was. So he would wrestle me And my sister would have a little tape recorder with the microphone, and she would do play-by-play of what was happening. You could hear on the tapes. I wish we had these tapes. My brother whispering what he was doing, and then my sister commentating. So, and then you'd hear me screaming. So you'd hear like, putting her in a pile drive. He's putting her in a pile drive! And then you'd hear like me, in the background. And he would just wrestle and throw us around. And then there was the commentary being done with the little microphone and the tape recorder. And it's hysterical. And then he'd pin me down, and then in wrestling you have a certain number of counts until you're out or something. I don't know. And so you would hear like my brother be like, start the countdown, and then you hear 3, 2, 1. Oh, she got out. She got out, and you hear me screaming and like, I'm gonna get you. And it was insane. And we'd knock over lamps, and there'd be bruises. Invariably, one of us would get hurt, and then my brother would pay us to not cry and not tell mom. It was insane. It was so much fun. And then my dad was just outside in the garage working or something completely. So we would, 9 o'clock, 9:30, mom would come home. She'd come in. We would try to look like nothing had happened, but we'd be sweaty or bloody. There'd be messes. And then my mom would just usually burst into tears or get really mad at my dad. Be like, I can't have one night away from these kids. I can't. Get out of here one time. And he'd be like, what? I don't know. And we were just like, better to ask forgiveness than permission. We had so much fun on Monday nights. I loved it. So that was one thing we did. Sorry, I do balloon art. And these are the flowers that I recently practiced making, and they turned out really well. And so I'm displaying them. Anyway, so that was our only fun because we didn't have really any other media or any other fun. Not any other fun. But another thing that's very interesting to a lot of people, and I didn't realize until very late in life that it was weird. So we didn't have TV and we didn't have movies, but my parents really liked like certain classic things, especially Christmas things. So at Christmas time, somehow they'd find out and see in the paper that, ABC was going to air The Grinch That Stole Christmas and Frosty the Snowman. So my parents would put us in the car and we'd go to Kmart and we would hang out in the TV section and watch it in Kmart. And that was always super cool. We'd set our coats on the floor. We'd sit down doggy style, Indian style. I can't even say that. We'd sit down and cross-legged and on the floor at Kmart, and we'd just sit down for a couple hours and watch TV. And people would be walking around us and whatever. And we do that. It was super fun. Same if The Sound of Music was on. Not The Sound of Music. The Wizard of Oz. My daddy loves The Wizard of Oz. So we would just go over to Target, sometimes Sears, but Sears closed earlier, so usually Kmart. Kmart was the winner. We would go there and we would sit down in the aisle. Sometimes we had to stand. If we went to this one store, I forget the name, it was linoleum, not carpet in the electronic department. So we didn't sit. We stood. And, just a couple hours standing in the store watching TV. That's normal, right? And so it wasn't until I was just talking about something like this a few years ago where we went to, it was when the Twins won the World Series. The Minnesota Twins suck, but they won the World Series in 1987. And so we went over to Kmart to watch Game 7 in the TV department. And I was telling someone about that. I remember when they won the World Series, we were watching at Kmart. And I was like, wait a minute. That's weird, isn't it? I bet other people didn't do that. Just didn't occur to me because this is normal childhood for me. If it's all you know, it's all you know. So we did that. We watched the World Series. I remember watching the victory parade when they had the ticker tape parade for them when they got back from whoever they beat, whatever. The cool thing about the Minnesota Twins ticker tape parade is it's Minnesota, and Minnesota's cold. And I remember all the players wore full-length fur coats in the parade. And Kirby Puckett was this short, kind of stout baseball player who's amazing. May he rest in peace. And I remember he wore this full-length fur coat and he looked like a real bear. And I'll just never forget seeing Kirby Puckett in a full-length fur coat. He was the Minnesota hero of all time. Kirby Puckett, Kent Hervick. Anyway, so yeah, we watched TV at Kmart. I remember when the space shuttle blew up in 1986. I think it was the Challenger. Was what it was called. It was 1986, I do believe. Um, we were sitting in the kitchen doing schoolwork because we must have been homeschooled at that point. We switched to homeschooling. It was either 86 or 87, I forget. But sitting in the kitchen, I remember doing schoolwork and heard it on the radio that this space shuttle exploded. It was really, really sad. So Mom put us in the car and we went over to Sears and watched the footage in Sears. It's totally normal. And now when you go to the store, you guys, when you go to the store and you look in the TV department, they don't have regular TV on. They have like the advertisement about the kind of TV or something. You can't even go watch TV at the store anymore. Which sucks because I no longer have TV either. Oh, how like things come full circle. If I had kids again right now, I would not have a TV. We thought it was terrible that we didn't have TV. We thought we were so deprived. It was definitely a religious decision. My mom calls it the Hellivision. My dad bought one in rebellion. And we would sneak downstairs when my mom wasn't looking and try to watch TV. And we would always get caught and get in trouble. And eventually, I don't know what the discussion was, but my dad removed the screen. So he just had the TV so he could listen to TV instead of watch TV. And that was the compromise. I don't know, but that little bit of time when we had it, it was the greatest time of my entire childhood because we go downstairs, my daddy had it in his little office, and we watched the Dukes of Hazzard, and we would watch Little House on the Prairie, and PTL, Jim and Tammy Faye Baker. Oh my gosh. My dad was such a big Jim and Tammy Faye Baker fan because, you know, we were Christian and they were Pentecostal televangelists. And, you know, that was what we were, except we were a cult version of that. So Jimmy Swaggart and Jim and Tammy Baker, and then Little House on the Prairie and Dukes of Hazzard. We watched those, and then the TV went away, and that was very sad. But the problem with that is when we would get around a TV, we were like tractor beams. You couldn't get our attention. We'd go down to Iowa to see my aunt and uncle, and they had a TV, and we were just like zombies. And the funny part is my mom was too, is to this day. When my mom watches TV, and she's gonna see this, she's gonna argue, but it's true. It's true. Everyone who's ever seen it will agree with me. You turn to TV and my mom is like, and you'd be like, Mom, hey, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, huh? She's mesmerized by it. It's hysterical. Because she's 70, I don't know, something years old. So it's a long time without a TV, and so it still sucks her in. But when I got married and moved out and got a TV, I watched TV from the moment I woke up until the moment I fell asleep. I couldn't get enough. And I wouldn't go anywhere because I had to watch TV. I had never seen any of the shows that were on, and like shows that were on reruns. So Step by Step, Family Matters. I watched Family Feud every single day. Judge Judy, Divorce Court, Supermarket Sweep. I watched all of it. Step by Step, I really liked Step by Step because I think Suzanne Summers is so pretty. And her husband, that guy, Patrick Duffy, super, super cute. I don't know. I had a show for every single hour of the day. And that's how it was for years until I got caught up. So that was one of the reasons I got so fat is I had my baby, I'm at home, I was a stay-at-home mom. I watched TV and ate all day long. And I couldn't go for a walk because I don't know, I'd miss all my children. Because yes, I got into two soap operas. All My Children and the one that was on after it, I forget what that, it wasn't as good. Anyway, I'm rambling. So that was the TV story, TV in the store. So yeah, that was probably weird compared to most people. What else did we do? It was weird. I don't know. We didn't watch movies either. My mom told us that Satan lived in the movie theater. So when we went past the movie theater, I was a little scared because Satan lived inside. I went to my first movie when I think I was 18. And I went with some girls I worked with. I used to work now it's Wells Fargo Bank, and I had some friends there, and on the weekend we met and went to the movies, and we went to this movie called Carpool, and it was a terrible movie. It had Roseanne's husband in it, Tom, whatever his name is. It was terrible, but I loved it, but I was terrified that the movie theater would burn down and my mom would get a call, "Hi, Mrs. Bowe, your daughter was found in a movie theater." Same with like when I listened to secular music. We weren't allowed to listen to secular music. So when I got my driver's license and I wanted to put on like KDWB, their mainstream top 40 station, I would, but then I'd be scared. What if I get in a car accident and the radio is still on when my mom arrives at the scene and she'll hear that I'm listening to secular radio? It was like, was playing with fire, man. I was more scared of my mom than God because my mom was God, and so terrified of that. But then after my first movie, I became super obsessed with going to movies, not only because of the movie, but because I found out about movie theater popcorn, baby. Like the giant tubs of popcorn. Of course, free refills happened like around that time, but extra butter. And then I learned that if you get the little cup of cheese sauce that goes with the nachos, you can take a piece of popcorn, dip it in the cheese, and eat it. So you can have cheese on every one. So another reason why I ended up getting so obese is I found these foods that were insanely bad for me, and I would eat them en masse while mindlessly watching things. So I'd go to the movies. And when my son was little, we took him to the movies all the time, and it wasn't necessarily because he wanted to see the new Winnie the Pooh movie. It's because I wanted to go and have popcorn with cheese sauce. And so, yeah, I'd have 2 giant tubs, and I'd go through 2 or 3 cups of cheese sauce during a movie. It was so much fun. I've often thought I should do that just one time, and then I remember how it felt after to have all of that fake cheese product and fake butter product in my belly, and I'm like, I can't do it. I don't think I could do it at all. I might try again sometime before I die. Like if I ever get a diagnosis of like terminal something, you will definitely find me in a movie theater with a tub of popcorn and a cup of cheese sauce. Facts. Anyway, so the only weird thing that happened with the movie thing that still makes me giggle a little bit. So I went to college in 1996, and that was when they re-released all of the Star Wars movies back to the theater. Well, I'd never seen Star Wars, and so I was excited to go and see Star Wars for the first time and on the big screen. So I went with a bunch of college friends and super excited, all the hype about Star Wars. My whole life, I had no idea what was going on. I kind of knew what R2-D2 looked like, but I had no idea, any context, nothing. And so, you know, the movie starts, and I was kind of like, really? This? It's so it's so elementary, it's old, like it looks like terrible filming and terrible acting. And my friends were like, you don't understand, when this came out, this was a huge jump forward in like movie making technology or whatever. I was like, okay, well, this is stupid, but whatever. I hung in there, and then because I was the only person in the movie theater who'd never seen the movie, you know, when we find out the big secret about Darth Vader, I was the one who couldn't contain herself and went, "Oh my God, that's his dad?" And I look at my friends like, why is everyone so calm? And then inevitably, a few minutes later, oh, that means he kissed his sister. Freaked out, and everyone's just like, what the heck? I'll never forget that. And afterwards, they're like, why did you make a fool of yourself like that? I'm like, what do you mean? I had no idea. Then they were like, oh, you've really never seen it. I'm like, no, I've never seen it. So that was pretty funny and embarrassing. But I ended up marrying. My first husband was like the biggest Star Wars fan in the entire world. I always told him that he just, like, life was just a convenient thing to make the time go past faster between releases of Star Wars movies back to the theater, or when the new ones came out, just something to do till the next one came out. So I spent a lot of years of my first marriage with a giant life-size Darth Vader cardboard cut out in the corner of the room staring. I didn't like that. It was ridiculous. But I've just never understood the hype around Star Wars. I don't get it. It's a lot of things that I missed out on when they were cool or popular. The magic of them is not recaptured by watching it later. Like when I was dating my ex fiance Kat, I was with Kat for 5 years, and he was amazing, and he really tried to catch me up. So I'd go to his house and we'd have movie nights where we would watch like The Breakfast Club and 16 Candles. We watched Goonies and Ghostbusters and Top Gun, and movies that I had missed out on that are iconic. And a lot of them were completely stupid to me. I'm like, I have no idea why everybody loves this movie. Goonies being one of them. Completely confused why that was a cult classic. I have no idea. There's nothing about that movie that is anything of interest. But it's because of the era and the age people were and it had meaning, I don't know. But other movies, I understand why they were super rad and they were super cool. Like Ghostbusters is amazing. Ghostbusters is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. Hello. Top Gun, super cool. But again, I don't really understand the hype with the aviators. They were just sunglasses. But I guess if they were made cool then, it makes sense now. I don't know. The Breakfast Club though, timeless. Amazing. It's timeless. That movie applies to all generations of all human beings. So some movies really, truly are amazing works of art, classic, brilliantly written, done movies, in my opinion. Which, who am I? And some are just stupid. But it was nice to be able to kind of get caught up on some of those, because now there's still a long list where people say like, oh, did you see Purple Rain? I'm like, no, I'm so behind still. And I don't have time now to catch up on old movies. If Kat hadn't been intentional about, and it was fun for him too to rewatch them, to like, let's get Kristen caught up on in the world, I never would have seen a lot of those. So I can give him a lot of credit for that. So other things that were weird, well, the clothing thing, our rules in our church were that women couldn't wear pants. You couldn't wear men's clothing. So we couldn't wear pants, which of course as a kid we're like, well, a shirt is men's clothing. Like we would try to find the loopholes, and we didn't win. But so girls couldn't wear pants, and then we couldn't wear shorts because we couldn't show anything above our knee. I don't really know why. There was a lot of things with women that you didn't want to cause men to lust. So men are going to lust because they're evil, disgusting creatures. So women are supposed to protect them from lusting by not looking sexy at all. So that's the logic. It's still the logic, which, you know, is insane. You're responsible for yourself, okay? So now my problem, if you look at me and undress me with your eyes, that's your problem. I could be buck naked and it's still your job to control what happens to your mind. But then again, what do I know? I don't know anything. Anyway, so we couldn't show our sexy knees because, oh my gosh, if a man were to see your knee, he just might be like, you know, he might be super lusty over the knee, whatevs. Same with elbows. Our church was not as strict on that, but the sister churches to the cult church I was raised in, women cannot show their elbows. I mean, again, like, I can't show you my elbow, this is too tight, but it's a good thing because you'd lust your pants off right here if you saw this elbow. Control yourselves. So, couldn't show our elbows, couldn't show our knees. So, and then for sure not the cleavage, like, gotta cover all of that up. In fact, showing the collarbone was often frowned upon. So, very, very conservative clothing. Just think about Amish people, think about Laura Ingalls, that was us. In fact, calico is the fabric that Laura Ingalls and Mary Ingalls wore. When you read the books, Little House on the Prairie, they talk about the calico. And so my mom sewed us church dresses out of calico. So we legit were dressed like Laura and Mary Ingalls, if you've ever watched Little House on the Prairie. LHOTP is the acronym for that. Anyway, I love Little House on the Prairie. I could still watch that all day. In fact, sometimes I do. Anyway, so we wore, you know, really conservative clothes, but there was also this rule that we weren't supposed to be like the world. So even if it was modest, if it was in fashion, we couldn't wear it. So you could never be in fashion. So if something was out of fashion, then we could wear it. So imagine a group of women in in like really dated, hideous clothing all the time. That was us. My mom, luckily she could sew because we did not have any money, and so she would sew us dresses. And I was a good girl. I liked all the pretty frilly things, and my mom could put all the lace and eyelet on it and pink and flowers, and I loved it. It still fits my sensibilities. I love it. I mean, I've got like the fuzzy, the pink. It's how I roll. My sister friggin' hated it. She wanted like purple with parrots and black and paisley, and my mom was like, no. So they used to fight over it, but I was like, make me pretty, add ribbons, it's totally fine. I'm Chrissy. I loved it. So luckily for my mom, she had one daughter who liked the frilly stuff. But anyway, to play outside, wearing a skirt is not necessarily modest, even though your sinful knees are covered up. So my mom would sew us culottes, which were shorts that came past our knee, but they were baggy. And so she just make them really simple out of scraps of fabric and just put a basic elastic waistband in them, which my sister loved because she would come up behind me in public and pants me. She'd just pull them down. And then when I got older, she'd snap my bra and pull my pants down in public. She was the peach. Anyway, so we would walk around and like other kids would come up to us and say, why are you wearing such short pants? Because they just looked like pants that were too big. And we looked really weird. And luckily we didn't go to school, so we didn't get teased all the time. Just once in a while, like in Kmart or walking down the street, we got teased. So that was super weird. And then there was this thing with the whole fashion thing, like you couldn't be in style. And back then in the 80s, the big permed hair was the thing, the crimped hair and the permed hair. And so while we weren't allowed to cut our hair, we also weren't allowed to get perms because it made us look worldly and we needed to not look like the world. And so it was a big thing because it was cool and it looked nice then. And so there was this big controversy about getting your hair permed. So for some reason, there was a loophole that if you did a home perm and you did it real loose, so it was just big curls, that was okay. Or if you were the pastor's daughter, you could get one. Or if you were the pastor's granddaughter, you could get one. But if you were Kristen Bowe and you were not part of royalty, do you hear the bitterness? It's still there. You couldn't do that. So it was sinful unless your last name was Whittle or you were related to a Whittle. Then Jesus was like, it's okay for you. You can look like the world because you're like special. But if you're the Bowe family, no. That's kind of a lot of things in culture worked that way. It was really weird, but we accepted it. We don't question the anointed. We don't ask questions, and we certainly do not point out things like hypocrisy. No. We just take care of ourselves, which actually I agree with. We take care of ourselves. But I'm just going to say it right now, it's a bunch of hypocritical bullshit. Crap. It was a bunch of hypocrisy. But hypocrisy is everywhere. So at least we were not immune. I'm not bitter. Anyway, so the people that did get the perms, they were not allowed to wear their hair to church with a perm. They had to curl it with like hot sticks and make big, giant, curly hair. So that either so that no one knew or so that you didn't look like the world while you were playing piano in church. I don't know. But those were the rules, and we just lived by them. It was understood, the things you did and didn't do in the church, period. The end. You also didn't wear lipstick. But if you were the pastor's daughters, you would buy Dr. Pepper flavored lip smacker and you would just put 7,000 coats on until your lips were really red. And people were like, oh, she's wearing lipstick. It's like, no, it's just lip smacker. And then there was also, flour from the kitchen. If you happen to dust some of that on your face, it evens your complexion. It's not makeup. We don't paint our faces like Jezebel. Jezebel was fed to dogs. Do you want to be fed to dogs? Then you won't paint your face. That was the comparison. So we weren't allowed to wear makeup because the pastor's wife had a dream that wearing makeup was bad and evil, and so she stopped or something. I don't know. She would have these dreams about the way that we should live, and then she'd bring the dream to church, and that was the rule. Now, like she had a dream or her hair actually caught fire, which was God telling her not to cut her hair. So then no longer could we cut our hair unless we were her kids. So no cutting of the hair because she had a dream and God set her hair on fire. So clearly all of us were no longer to cut our hair. It made perfect sense. So with makeup, couldn't wear makeup, but also in the Bible, there's a story in the Old Testament about Jezebel, and she was this evil queen who like tricked people and stuff, and it said that she painted her face. That was something it says in the Bible about Jezebel. Well, Jezebel was terrible, and I don't know all the details anymore, but basically she fell out of a window and died, and her body was eaten by dogs. And so, of course, we make the connection that Jezebel painted her face and she got eaten by dogs. So, do you want to be easy breezy, beautiful cover girl? That's fine, and you'll also be easy breezy, beautiful cover girl, Purina dog food. It's fine. Pick. Or perhaps you'd like to scrub your face and look holy. I don't care. Pick one. So these were just these were smart, logical connections that were made by the leadership for us to live by. And we just did. So, but if you were related to the pastor, there was a lot of things that you could just do. You could also just like pinch your cheeks for 20 minutes before church so that you get a nice little red line. So I'm not wearing blush, but you're looking like you're wearing blush. Why don't you just put some friggin' blush on your face and call it a day instead of like pinching your face to death? Anyway, I gotta calm down, but those were the things. The men got to do whatever they wanted. Anyway, so those were just some of the weird things. But, you know, I'm fine. It's fine. It's fine. It really is fine. In all seriousness. I wouldn't say that I'm bitter. I'm not bitter. I would say that I have lingering frustration that there are really smart people that were in the cult and maybe still are sort of in the cult that won't acknowledge that those hypocrisies existed. I just want someone to say, yeah, that was screwed up. That's all. I'll never get that, and that's fine. But as long as I know that it was screwed up and I don't behave that way. Like on the beach, I tell people we only do 2-minute planks. We don't do 3-minute planks. Why? Because I won't do a 3-minute plank. And if I won't do it, I'm not asking you to do it. I feel like leadership, that's kind of important. Today I wouldn't do a 2-minute plank either. In fact, most of the time I don't. But that's a little different. I could do it if I was asked. Anyway, so those were just, some of the stories. I'm sure I have a lot more. But I think that's enough for today. This has been Story Time with Kristen. There's no overarching point. There's no lesson to be had. Except maybe, wow, Kristen is so normal compared to how abnormal she used to be. That's all. Thanks for coming to Story Time. I have no idea how to end this. That car horn out there. We could just sit and chat more on my couch with my flowers and Dolly Parton. Isn't she pretty? I had this made on Zazzle, Zazzle.com. I found a picture of her that I loved, which is this one, and then I had a pillow made out of it. So now I can hang out with Dolly anytime I want.